Yeah, you do, Sam. Yeah, you do.
That's great. Well, they are outstanding, good reports. And I actually wanted to speak about that this afternoon. I want to speak about how, things are just, going really well. And I wanted to kind of speak to the idea of, what do we do, or how do we lead when we're leading well? So, when we're leading well, which is what's happening, what do we do to keep leading in the way that we is, obviously seeing success? Because it's important to think about that, because, leaders actually spend a large part of their mental energy on trying to figure out if we're actually heading in the right direction. Like, we spend a lot of time thinking about, are we all, like corporately, are we all heading in the right direction? Or is that one person going where they need to be going? And we spend a lot of time thinking about that. Rachel's good report about that particular person. It was like, well, the reason that Rachel thinks that person's doing well, because she's thinking about, is that person going in the right direction? When people are, you think, oh, that's great, they're going in the right direction. Or even, am I going in the right direction? Am I on track? And as a leader, you do have to ask that question. Am I on track? Is the person on track? Is that team on track? Is this location on track? Is this organization going in the right direction? And they are all leadership questions, because leaders are the ones who are ultimately responsible for the direction of the thing. It's simple, right? Leaders are ultimately responsible for the direction of the thing, or they're ultimately responsible for the direction of those people. And that's a significant responsibility. So we think about it a lot. We're ultimately responsible for the direction of everything that we are leading. And so what happens when we can answer that question with a resounding yes? When we can say, yes, guess what? We're all going where we need to be going, or we're all leading well. We're saying yes to that question. I wonder what kind of leadership is required when we are leading well. We need to lead well when things are being led well. I'll say that again. Maybe I should say this, we still need to lead well when things are being led well. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm excited to share these thoughts with you, because as I was writing these down, I was thinking, wow, this is really helping me. So I think it might be actually like some inspiration from God, these things. So that's a good thing. So I was thinking, okay, are there any kind of traps that come our way when things are being led really well? And I think there are a few traps that can come our way. And I've got a few written down. I've got 3 traps to watch out for when we're leading well. And I'm actually going to get you guys to contribute to some of these later, because I've not just got 3 traps to watch out for when we're leading well, but I've also got 3 ways we can maximize a season of great leadership. Okay, so let me just share these traps with you. And I think the reason these resonate with me is because I fall into these, right? So the first trap I've identified when we are leading well is the trap of complacency. What we need to remember is that we're only where we are because of the great work that we've done. And here's the truth, it will take a growing level of great work to see things keep growing. So complacency can be a trap, because we think that we've made it, or we have gotten here under some other kind of pretense. But the reality is, and Beyond Church team, the leaders I'm talking to right now, we are leading well because we have led well. And if we want to keep leading well, then guess what? We need to lead well. And we can't become complacent when it comes to getting the things done that need to get done and doing the things that we know we need to do. So complacency can be a trap. The second trap that we can often find ourselves falling into when things are being led well is the trap of coasting. So the truth is this, right? A rising tide lifts all ships. A rising tide lifts all ships. Even if you aren't doing well, even if you aren't leading well, it will appear as though you are if you're in a healthy culture or a growing organisation. So you can coast because a rising tide will lift all ships. And so if you aren't leading well, doing well, getting things done, meeting deadlines, turn up on time, if you're not doing those things that you need to do to lead well, calling people to culture, going the extra mile, above and beyond all that, then it may still look like you are, because in a healthy culture, growing organisation, we all look good. But coasting, you'll only appear to be doing well on a rising tide, but when the tide runs out, you don't want to be that ship who's left wanting. So, this is almost like self-preservation. You need to do, because the reality is you have to be honest with yourself not to coast. You do, because it's the truth is people may not even notice it. And you may be able to go for quite a length of time, just, enjoying the ride. But really, it's a warning, really, that, hey, make sure you're doing the work. Like, even if you don't think you need to, do the work. Don't coast, because it's a trap when things are being led well. And thirdly, the third trap I've identified is the trap of comparison. So if we're leading well, we need to make sure that we're using our own, this is like for personal life too, but I'm talking organisationally. If we're leading well, we need to make sure that we're using our own internal expectations and goals, to measure the progress that we're making and not the success or failure of our friends or our competition. I'm not into CrossFit, because obviously I'm not that fit, but I like to watch CrossFit sometimes. I've kind of gone off it a little bit now, but I used to be right into it for a while there. And I was always amazed when I did the interviews, like the post-match interviews and stuff, for these CrossFit guys and girls that are just like crazy fit people that are just like elite athletes. Asking them, what did you think of, you came third, or you came second, or you came ninth, or whatever. These guys are elite, right? They're elite athletes in their field. Almost always, when they were asked about their performance and what they do better or how they've achieved so much, they would always be talking about the one competitor they're trying to beat is themselves. And even the guy who was winning, this guy called Matt Fraser, who's won it a heap of times, and he's a crazy fit guy, and he's just crazy, full stop. The one person he's trying to beat every time he hits the field is himself. And I think that's, we've got to be okay with that being the competition that we're facing too, because there's a massive danger in comparison. And when we're leading well, sometimes we like to think and like to use the lack of success of others to compare how well we're going, or we think that because someone else is 10 years ahead of us, then even though we're doing well, we're not doing well. So I just want to, say that we shouldn't be comparing ourselves with others. And when we're leading well, it can be a trap that we fall into. So if we're leading well, we need to make sure that we're using our own internal expectations and goals, because that's how we've gotten to where we are today, because we have some internal expectations and goals, and we're actually doing really well in achieving them, and we can set new ones and we can work towards them. And I think that if we don't compare, we'll feel a whole lot better about moving forward and leading well. So they're the three traps that I think we need to be just aware of, and I don't think we're falling into them, but let's be aware of them now while things are going so well. Even just the fact that things are going so well right now is phenomenal. Hey, like, it's just that it's just amazing that God's doing something phenomenal. Okay, side note. So here we go. There are some things that we can do. I'm going to get your input here. So get your thinking cap on. There are some things that we can do during a season of leading well that will empower us to maximize these kinds of seasons. I've got three things that we can be doing to lead well when we're leading well. The first one is this, and maybe it sounds counterintuitive. Rachel shared a bit about it yesterday in her message. It's rest. Rest. Winning costs us something. Winning costs us something. Don't pretend like you are Superwoman. Winning costs you something. So to keep winning, you need to keep your account full. You need to keep your tank full. Because if you want to win again, you're going to have to pay for it. That's just the reality of being a winner, which you're winning, but it's costing you something. And if you don't think that it is, you're going to be caught out very soon. And the biggest account that's drawn down on in leadership, especially in our world, is the account of emotional energy. So we have to keep that account topped up to the brim. You can't live on credit on that account. That account has to be full. It's got to be at the top all the time. And so there are a few ways here that we can make sure that account is actually topped up. And the first one is, I guess, again, it's a little unusual, but it actually does help with your emotional world, and that is just being physically healthy. I'm not talking about being CrossFit. I'm just talking about being able to go for a walk, and being able to play with your kids, and being able to have a good night's sleep, and being able to just being physically healthy. So that's going to be a key for emotional health and keeping your emotional account topped up. The second thing is spending time with God. It's simple, but I don't think it can be said enough, that the daily devotional stuff that you do, your daily disciplines that you do, your words to live by that you do, whatever it is that stirs your spirit, walks in nature, watching your favourite preacher, probably Rachel Maine, if that's what you need to do, spending time with God keeps that emotional tank topped right up. And the other thing that we can do to top it up is to spend time with account fillers. So who are the people that put money in your emotional account? Spend time with them. If things are going well, don't get caught up in the enthusiasm, excitement, or the false reality that you're doing well. Because when things are doing well, you're paying for that, and you might not realise, but the better things are going, the more you're paying for it. Winning costs us something. So don't fool yourself and think that you don't need to be with people that are your emotional account fillers. Who speaks life into you, who encourages you, who's developing you, who's inspiring you, who is telling you that you're amazing, that you're the best, that you're a winner. Who is it? So they're the people you need to be with. You need to get in their world, make a priority to be with them and in their, and when you're winning and you're getting encouraged by other people, that's going to ramp that account right up, get it nice and full for when you've got to draw down on it again. So spend time with account fillers. This is a good one. Make sure you're filling the account of someone else. This is counterintuitive, but the more you encourage and invest into other people, the more that your emotional energy increases. It's from that concept I've read in that book, People Fuel by John Townsend, and it's such a truth that you do need people that you're speaking into. So don't miss your mentoring appointments with the person you're mentoring if you're doing that. Don't miss your appointments with the person that you like to have a coffee with if they need some support and encouragement. Make sure you're still sowing in and investing in and filling someone's account, because that's good for you. Makes you feel like you're making a difference in the world. And finally, this is actually really important. That's why I'm going to say it. Keep away from Nigerian princes. It's really important you keep away from them, because they will empty your bank account. They will drain it dry. I just thought that was gold when I wrote that down.
It actually means something.
Yeah, wait, it means something.
That's amazing.
Right. Thank you. Keep away from it. It means keep toxic people who want to drain your emotional account out of your life. You do not need to help everybody, and some people don't need your help. Some people say they do and they don't want your help. All they want to do is ruin your life. So you need to be able to identify the kind of people that when you're with them for 5 minutes, it feels like you've been with them for 5 years and you wish you'd never met them before. Those kinds of people you do not want in your world when you are winning. When you're doing well, make sure that you can keep doing well by getting people out of your life that are draining your emotional account. They're like kryptonite to your spiritual health. So, number one, rest. I'll spend a bit of time on that, but I think it's important because I want you to know, and I guess because we're leading the organisation, that winning doesn't mean you don't need to rest. In fact, when things are being led well, one of the things you really should be doing is making sure you prioritise rest, because whatever you're doing at the moment is working. So make sure I want to make sure you can keep doing it. Number two, things that we can do when things are being led well is we should reflect. What have we been doing that's meant that we've seen things led well through this season? This is an actual question I'm asking you now. This is where you're going to make a contribution. What have we been doing that has meant that we've seen things led well through this season? What have we been doing? So if you have something you'd like to say, what do you think it is that we've been doing well that has meant that we've been able to lead well and that we've been winning through this season?
Me.
What do you think? Yeah, jump in. Go, Rebecca.
John and Beryl from up here said that during COVID, they just couldn't believe how we kept in contact with them on the phone and cared about them. And I think that's what we've been doing to lead well during this season is caring for people, prioritising and valuing people, and that real connection. I think that has enabled us to lead well.
Yeah, I totally agree. People first, and that's it. I think that's one of the things that we've been doing. Well, who unmuted? Is that you, Natalie? Kate, yeah.
I think one of the keys has been that you guys, Luke and Rach, have kept us all pointed towards the vision and the mission and those things that haven't changed. And so that's empowered us then to lead others well by helping them to focus on the things that haven't changed as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of the things I've written down. One of the things is to cast clear, compelling and unwavering vision. I've shared on that before. When we cast clear, compelling, unwavering vision, we can lead through crisis, and we can, lead through, any real challenge. It helps us to know that we are on track. So when we reflect, we can reflect that that is what's one of the things that's helped us to move forward. If people don't see what God's doing, they stumble all over themselves. But when they attend to what he reveals, they are most blessed. Proverbs 29:18. All right, that's great. All right, anyone else want to jump in? What do you think? Yeah, Rich, go for it, mate.
Luke, back near the beginning of COVID, you brought us a message, and I think it was something like, make sure you do the basics well. Keep doing the basics. And I'm guessing a little bit here, but I imagine that they were spending time with God and connecting with people. There was probably 3, and they probably all started with the same letter. But
that's great, Richard. Yeah, you did right. That's so true. And I think that comes in line with getting the basics right. What is it that we're doing? Where we're going? One of the things that I think that we did well is we just continue to call people to the culture, which is in alignment with what you're saying, Richard. That we just kept correcting counterculture. Like when things might have had the potential to go sideways, we're like, hang on a minute, that's not who we are. It's not how we do things around here. We don't shut down. We don't pull back. We don't shrink back. It's not who we are. And I think we were really intentional about celebrating the cultural alignment. Like when things were who we are, we stopped and we still celebrated. We just did not give up on good reports. There was always a good report to bring, even in the darkest days of COVID. There was always a good report to bring. I think that's key, Richard. That's great. Anybody else? Yeah, Jen.
I think probably the flexibility and the innovation that was able to come out of that, and to, as you just said, as to stay open. Like we didn't just throw our hands up in the air and think, oh, it's too hard, we'll just wait, we'll just ride it out behind closed doors, and we'll pop our heads out at the end of it. But it was actually sort of grabbing it by the horns and thinking, okay, this is the cards that we've got at the moment. What can we do? And coming up with ways of being able to still contact people and stay in touch with people, and developing with that as we went along. So it was, it's been a great thing to actually see happen. It's really cool. I'll put it in my memoirs.
It's great. All right. Anybody else? Don't have to say something, but if you do, you can just jump in. That's all good. And the reason I asked you to think about that was, again, because when we're leading well, it's important to stop and reflect on what has brought us to this point of healthy leadership. Like how have we arrived here? It's not by accident. So we need to stop and reflect and think back to the things that have brought us to this point, so that if things, because Andy Stanley says that if things, we need to know why things are working, so when they break, we can fix them. Mm-hmm. And if things are going really well and we don't reflect on why they're going well, then if they're not working, we won't know what to do to get them right again. And so it's so important that we just have a moment, especially when things are going really well, because that's the time when you're least worried about what to fix. We do need to stop and go, okay, well, this isn't about fixing anything, but it's about looking at why things are working. And I just want us to be the kind of people that think about that when things are being led really well. When leading well, let's continue to lead well. And that's how we do it. We stop and we reflect on why that's the case. And finally, the third thing, and this kind of flows on from that second one, is so what have I said so far? I said rest, I've said reflect, and I've said repeat. Repeat. Rebecca was guessing the third one. What did you think it was going to be, Rebecca? You had 4 things written down. No. So what have I got written down here? There are some key leadership principles that you have been applying. This is specific to you as amazing leaders. There are some key leadership principles that you, Beyond Church leaders, have been applying that have led to this season of strength. So keep them up. Keep doing them. And here's the key. Here's the key with this repeat point. Faithfulness and consistency compound. And that's exciting, but also scary. That the more faithful you are, the more consistent you are, the more exponential growth that you will see. And Rachel shared this thought with me. I don't know when we were turning, like when she turned 40, when I turned 40, or when we had our 40th birthday combined party. But it might have been in just reflecting on our 40 years and our last 7 years of leading Beyond Church. That she was saying that what she senses is that this is a season for exponential impact and reach and growth for us personally, but also for the life of Beyond Church and the things that we're leading. And because faithfulness and consistency compounds, it's one of those natural orders. It's one of those things that's it's not just a kingdom principle. It's just a principle in life. Compound interest. It's just a principle that if you are faithful and if you are consistent, the small things make a big difference over time. And so what I want to say to you guys is continue to be faithful, continue to be consistent, because this is a season right now where we're like, wow, look at all this great stuff that's happening. However, when we look back, we can see that the Scone youth trip, which is like, wow, that was awesome. It was amazing. All those kids came to Scone. We saw someone say yes to Jesus. All those guests. Yeah, it was awesome. So good. And there's like report after report about how amazing it was. That's not because we had one great day. That's because of the faithfulness and consistency of Andrew and Rebecca. It's the faithfulness and consistency of Sam running youth every Friday night for the last 3 years. It's the consistency and faithfulness of our systems and teams implementing them and making sure that we are safely taking kids to where they've got to go, that parents know what's happening with their kids. There's confidence to bring, confidence to invite, confidence for community, for families. We know that a healthy, strong culture in a service means that Rachel Buchanan can invite her friends and they can. So the faithfulness and consistency of the life of an organisation, the impact of that compounds over time. So I said that's exciting, but it's also scary. And the scary part of that is that you kind of have to be preparing for that, because what you have today won't be what you need to cater for the leadership that's going to be required of you tomorrow. So you have to be okay with that. And again, the win of a rising tide lifting all ships is that you'll be there to be a part of that. But if you're not personally ready for it, then it could actually crush you. And so what I want to just say to you, not in a scary way, well, kind of in a scary way, is that your faithfulness and your consistency, the small things you're doing right today, while things are being led well, are going to set us up for compound and exponential growth in the future in so many areas, in people's personal lives, their spiritual journey, and also the reach and impact of Beyond Church in our world. So I just wanted to share those thoughts with you, because I kind of thought, wow, you guys are doing so well. We're all doing really well. What do we like when leading? What do we do when things are being led really well? But I think it's important to think about those things. Let's not fall into the trap of complacency. Let's not fall into the trap of coasting. Let's not fall into the trap of comparison. But let's make sure we rest, that we reflect, and that we repeat and remain faithful. All right, so they're just a few thoughts. 1 o'clock. If you want to throw anything in, you can. Otherwise, I'll give a big sign off. Thanks, Beck. Throw a pen. You guys are doing awesome.